So I'm going to show you every track that is in this project, of course. There's not that much tracks, like I said, maybe 34, 35. But first I'm going to go over all the basic tracks that make up the actual musical track. We just covered the beats and the guitars. Let's go to the bass line. Just going to close up the effect returns. The bass line, it's actually a two-part sound I made up of two different synthesizers. And just going to go to a part in the track where it's actually playing. Oh, that is right now. So I can just solo this. This is the bass line. And coupled with the guitars, it sounds like this. And you know, part of me wanted to make sure it sounded a bit like a real upright bass, like a double bass. I needed a bit of a sample sounding like a bass, and I got that from a sound in Hypersonic, and it's the old Hypersonic made by Steinberg. I still use that now and then. I've even got the original expansion boards that came with it in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And as you can see, I experimented with layers of sound, but in the end I just landed on one solo preset, and that's called 80s hi-fi bass. It's got nothing to do with the double bass, but to me it sounded a bit like it has a certain edge to the sound that I was looking for. And on its own it sounds like this. It's got that plucky sound at the very start. Can you hear that? Without the EQ8, it sounds like this. But it was a bit too woolly for me, so I decided to low cut it and take out a bit of the 232 hertz, and I actually boosted quite a bit on the 284. That is, yeah, well, I guess it needed that after all the low cutting I did. I low cut it until 194 hertz. So then, you know, obviously if I take out the low end, I need to replace it with low end from another bass. And that's what I did using a massive sound. Let's see what I took from massive. Sub-focus bass. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, the nice thing about this bass is that it's modulated in a way that there's a little movement in the envelope. I'm not sure if it's the filter envelope. Yeah, there's a filter being modulated here. That adds a little bit of liveliness to the sound. It's a very synthetic sound, but still there's some sort of vibey thing going on in the filter envelope. And I added a compressor because I wanted to emphasize exactly that. I wanted to make sure that that is audible, that movement in the filter is audible in the mix. So I put quite a bit of compression on there to really squash the level of this bass sound. Without it, it sounds like this. And even though there's more dynamics in it without the compressor, I still wanted to compress the level of this into a tiny range so that I can push it up the level of the track in the mix so that all that movement of the filter is actually audible. So there's also an EQ behind that. Let's see what it sounds like without. And with. Okay, seems I only took a bit out of 155 and boosted a bit on the 91 hertz. And this is probably a mistake. I'm not the type that can hear a difference of 0.1 dB in an EQ. But anyway, that is the massive for the low end, and together they sound like this. So you got that plug from the Hypersonic, and the low end from the massive, and that coupled together. So it's a very controlled sound. But for the reasons I just explained, there's a certain liveliness to the sound without it being too synthetic. And it's not even a sample, so that's nice. Not that I have anything against samples. I needed a lot of control on this bass because it's a very heavy sounding bass in the mix, and I needed to be able to control these different elements of the sound. So that's the bass sounds, and I grouped them together in a group called bass. Added another little bit of EQ, low cut at 54 hertz. I needed that because there's always fighting going on between the kick and the bass, of course. Just added the kick. Let's see what it sounds like. And without the low cut. With it. Now this is just a bit cleaner. It's only 54 hertz, but still. I'm actually surprised that it's still got that heavy low end with it being low cut at 54 hertz, almost 55 hertz. But it works. So that's really the trick. For every mixing you ever encounter, just do whatever works. After that, the Lfo Tool again. Seems like the default preset again. Without it. Yeah, I like the ducking. I like the ducking. I'm not always using sidechain bass, but I really liked it on this bass part. So that's the bass.